Whiskey for the Ages is not sponsored or endorsed for any product or program mentioned in this show and receive no remuneration from their creators.
Everybody, a warm welcome back to our Whiskey for the Ages podcast subscribers. Tonight, I'm your host, Laura Dawson, and Hannah's here on my left.
Big thank you to those of you who are tuning in for the very first time.
And my dad is on my right side.
Hello, and hope you enjoy this show. Consider subscribing to our podcast as well.
Subscribing really does help us out, and it actually helps you out as well. Subscribers get notified first when episodes are uploaded. Subscribers help us move up in the Google rankings. Higher rankings makes it easier for others to find our show. More listeners drives future content, aka you also get a say in what types of content we produce on the show. And of course, more exposure allows future expansion to YouTube, which is something we're really interested in doing. But don't worry, we never spam subscribers with unwanted solicitation.
That's right, yeah. So, like I say, this time I'm taking a lead. We got yet another bread and whiskey pairing.
Yep. Bread.
Homemade bread. Very excited.
Bread. Fresh out of the oven, basically today. So this will be very interesting. One of the loaves I've made a handful of times. Hannah really likes this one. It's my Italian herb bread. I learned that the first time I made it, these two really liked it. So then I realized every time that I have to make this particular loaf, I have to make 2 loaves of it. So we got a little bit of extra for leftovers. Yay us. And then our second bread that we're having is one that I've never made before. This is a chocolate chip brioche bread. So I wanted to do like the savory and sweet that we did last season. This one was a weird baking process for me. I'd never done anything like that before. It was an overnight process. I think there was more involvement, and I'm really excited to try this out. I've never tried it. These two have never tried it, so. But in regards to what we're drinking, what are we drinking?
So our first one tonight is going to be Dry Fly Straight Wheat Whiskey.
And if you recall last season during our Spotlight in Distillery episode, the episode that I led, we looked at a bunch of Dry Fly products from their special finish line with the port finish. We looked at their cask strength wheat. We looked at their 101 bourbon. Tonight we're just going with the straight wheat. This one was not in our Spotlight. We thought that this time we could bring it out of the cabinet and let it have a moment here with the bread.
So our mash bill on this is 100% local soft white wheat. Then when they say local, that means local around Spokane, Washington.
That's a big point from that distillery.
Yes.
They do everything as close to grain to glass as they can. Barrel char is a number 3. They did not publish the entry proof, but my guess is it's probably something less than maximum available at 125. Casks, of course, are going to be new 53-gallon American oak barrels that have been charred with that number 3. This one is 3 years old, and it's put out at an ABV of 45% or 90 proof. MSRP, $40 for the 750 milliliter bottle, and a fair price on this guy around the country of $40 to $50. It's not available everywhere, but it is available in quite a few states. I think somewhere 32, 36 states do the dry fly.
Yeah.
Market prices in that same range, although some places are selling it for $30 and some are selling it for $60, but mostly around that $40 to $50. Here in Idaho, we paid $35.95. here just a month or two ago.
Nice. So we got a really, really good deal on that.
One thing you guys will notice, that's a 100% wheat. Last season we realized kind of halfway through our season that we were doing quite a heavy run on all things rye, which worked out really well for me. I enjoyed that quite a lot. That was a really great season for me. But this season we thought, you know what, let's kind of open the door to maybe exploring wheat and how this goes. So we started our first episode off with this season with a wheated bourbon with that Wilderness Trail. We're kind of carrying the theme over to this one in regards to pairing. So we're opening this episode up with a 100% wheat whiskey with the dry fly. I just want to eat.
Yeah.
I just
Well,
want to eat.
I'm gonna grab a piece of bread, and you guys can figure out what's going on here. I'm grabbing the crust, which is, it's an amazing crust, and it's got all kinds of grains and herbs and whatever all over it. So
Really aromatic, and the whiskey itself is also really aromatic. It's approachable. Coming in at that 90 proof, it's not going to blow your head off or anything like that. Really welcoming. I'll be interested to see how it comes up against the really strong flavors of the bread, because there are some heated spices and herbs in here for sure.
Laura, tell us about this bread.
Yeah, so like I say, this is my Italian herb bread, and these two are right. There is a little bit of heat in this. I really, really like to cook. I like to cook Italian dishes, and I don't think that there's an Italian dish where I don't include red chili flakes or red pepper flakes, because I just really like that heat. I think it brings it up to that level. This particular bread was prepared a lot like my other breads, in which case you got your flour, you got your yeast, you got your water. One thing I always do is I always start with the dry ingredients, and I just basically dump all of the Italian herbs that I know of into this, and then give it a quick mix up. Then I make a little well, and what I do next is I put my yeast mixture, which is usually water, honey, and yeast. I put that in after it's been foaming and bubbling for a few minutes. Then I put in quite a lot of butter. I think usually like a half stick of butter. I usually soften it though. Lastly, I put in a lot of oil in this, a lot of olive oil in particular. So there's that, and I guess I have one more ingredient I put in, an egg as well. I don't really know what the egg does to it. I think it makes it more protein rich. You guys will have to let me know, because I just mix ingredients together and hope for the best.
Oh, it's a good binder.
Yeah.
What is this whiskey doing to this bread?
I think they really elevate each other. The whiskey, I'm not entirely sure it can stand up to all the spices going on here, but on the same token, when I have the bread after having a sip of the whiskey, all of the spices just come more alive, which is really exciting and fun to play with. The whiskey almost, to me, acts like a palate cleanser. Like, it just comes in.
I get that.
You know, it might not have an elevated flavor on its own, but it can cut everything right off at the knees, which is, I kind of like that, because it does leave the next bite or the next sip of whatever, if you're having this with a dinner or with other pairings. I think that opens it up really well.
For context, the spices in this, like I say, red chili flakes are in here. There's parsley, there's Italian seasoning, oregano, a lot of rosemary. So just think a lot of those Italian spices. I would agree that the whiskey serves as a palate cleanser. I think it is almost like a watery sort of thing. Honestly.
I don't think it's watery. I think it's sharp. But
well, it's watery in that it's cleansing. Like, I don't know, it just kind of resets your palate for the spices.
What do you think?
This bread is so soft that when you tear a chunk out of it, and we've got slices, but I'm tearing chunks out of it, it's almost like a brand new sponge.
Yeah, that's a good,
I mean,
yeah.
it's like it's never been wet before. It's just and the flavors that are in the bread, they just jump right out at you. But like you guys are saying, as soon as you take the whiskey, those flavors dissipate. But as soon as you take another piece of bread, they just bounce right back.
Yeah.
Do you think that this whiskey has a much more brininess now that we've had the bread?
I don't get brine.
No, I don't think so either. I do think it might enhance the brininess of the bread, though. Like, I get the salt content from the bread a bit more. So, some of you may be wondering here, why are we doing this? What is the point of doing this? Well, it's whiskey pairings, right? So sometimes people like to drink their whiskey neat. We fall into that category. Sometimes people like to drink their whiskey with ice. A lot of times people want to have a snack or something along with their bread or meat or along with their whiskey, or just have something at the dinner table that's unique. So this whole exercise here, if you're pouring a wheat whiskey, what types of things do you want to have with it? You could grab virtually any 100% wheat whiskey off the shelf. Obviously all of them are going to vary, bottle to bottle, brand to brand, but maybe you'll find something that you can hook yourself into and test out on your own with something that kind of resembles the types of food that we're eating, something more on the savory spice side versus something on the more sweet side. And speaking of sweet, I want to get into this brioche. It's staring me in the face.
Yeah. All right, so let's start with that process, and let's kind of compare this brioche with this dry flay that we're having.
And how it works.
Yes.
In comparison to that spicier bread.
So right away, I'm thinking dessert.
This is a very desserty bread.
So the bread that just took a bite of the bread, the chocolate comes right through. I mean, straight up chocolate. The savoriness of the other bread is gone.
Oh yeah.
I'm not tasting anything on a finish from the whiskey. So I'm going to go ahead and take a sip of the whiskey while you add your thoughts here, Hannah.
Well, Laura, you know that this has cinnamon in it, right?
It does, yes. Brioche is a little bit different. It involves more of a process. It usually goes overnight. Brioche is a little bit more picky. And the reason why is because it has milk and a lot more butter, so there's a lot more dairy stuff going on. That was the first thing that I learned when I attempted this, because my dad came to me and he was like, Laura, let's do a recipe involving cherries. I'm like, I don't have cherries. And that involves a lot more baking within the day, and I've got this loaf, this Italian herb loaf that I gotta do, so we'll save that for a different day. Maybe that'll be the next pairing, I don't know. Very first thing that I had to do was rethink my entire process for how to make bread, because it did not use any sort of water with that yeast mixture. I had to heat up milk and sugar and yeast pretty much in a sequential order, but making sure that the milk wasn't too hot, otherwise the yeast would fall apart. Yeast is basically a protein that essentially, if it's too hot, the protein will break down, so the yeast won't be able to foam up. Likewise, if it's too cold, it just doesn't rise as quickly, so it just gets slowed down. You want it to be at that 70 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe 90 at the highest. Something that's lukewarm is usually what is recommended, and that was a process that took a while. From there, I basically made a dough with yeast mixture, and I had to slowly add flour instead of just dumping it all and doing my whole well technique that I explained with the Italian herb. And it just was finicky. And then I had to incorporate all the softened butter, so it just was a different kind of process.
This bread is a lot more dense.
Yeah.
It's really rich.
And you're not going to want a lot of this bread by itself.
No.
But I will tell you, this wheat whiskey makes this bread sing, or this bread makes this whiskey sing.
It really does go both ways here.
Oh my goodness, does this go.
you can really, when you have a bite of the bread, the chocolate really is dominant. It comes forward, it has that really soft, rich texture with the bread. But then when you have a sip of the whiskey, the cinnamon all of a sudden becomes so elevated and so pulled to the front of the palate. It's really, really enjoyable. And then going back to the bread after the sip, you're hit right again with the chocolate. They're bouncing off of each other and playing really well with each other. What do you think about the concoction, Alora?
I'm happy. I'm really happy. This is really good. I think that the whiskey helps make this chocolate bread melt in the mouth even more. I think that unlike what the Italian herb was doing, because it's just such a stronger flavor in the much different area, I try to make this pairing episode to where I've got one savory and one sweet bread. That way we can explore all possible spectrums in this. And this really, really elevates that chocolate and the cinnamon glaze that I put on top of this bread. So I'm really, really happy. Do you guys think that this brings out much more sweeter notes in the whiskey, or do you think that the whiskey is bringing out the sweeter notes in the bread?
I think what the whiskey's doing is it's an undercarriage, a chassis, if you will, to the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's not in any way dominating this bread.
No.
But it's making this bread, dare I say, even better than it already would be.
Yeah.
It's taking away some of the sweetness.
It is.
It is,
And I
yeah.
like that because this is a really sweet bread.
Yeah.
Each piece is not standing on its own. They're working together.
Yeah.
This is really good, Laura.
It's a great combination.
I have to ask, what kind of chocolate chips did you use?
Semi-sweet.
Semi-sweet.
Yeah, I do not really like using straight up milk chocolate for my chocolate chips because I think they're too sweet and I'm just not a huge milk chocolate fan. I like dark chocolate, and semi-sweet is a really, really good chocolate chip to use in your chocolate chip cookies, in your chocolate chip brioche bread, if you ever decide to make it. It's even good in ice cream, so
I'm going to let you guys all know, Hannah and I have already poured more whiskey.
oh, I'm
Because
slow on that train.
we're starting to run out.
Yeah.
As soon as we had this sweet bread, we were taking sips and going, "Where's the whiskey? Where's
We need
the whiskey?"
more. We need more. Yeah.
This really works well together. I think it
Yeah.
works better with the sweet than it does with the savory.
I
I
would
agree.
agree, yeah. So now that we've had this sweet, let's actually go back to the savory. See if
Oh,
we've
you want
got,
to test? Okay.
yeah, see if we've got any other notes.
I'm going to take a sip of water first to
Yeah.
clear my palate of the chocolate.
Always good to clean that palate off. You're jumping back and forth, you won't know what you're getting. So this time I'm taking just a bite of bread. There's no crust here. It's just bread.
I've got some crust because I don't really care, but that's fine.
This bread becomes very subtle.
It does.
Even though it's savory, it's not in your face like the sweet bread.
I feel like the spices creep up on you more.
Yeah.
Whereas when we first had this, it just kind of hit you in the face. So what do you guys think would happen if we had reversed this order? If we had the dessert before the savory, what do you think it would have done?
I'm not sure I would have been able to appreciate what the whiskey was doing with the savory as much, because combining it with the sweet really works. And I think I would have been really let down going to the savory after the sweet.
But we're coming back to this, and I like it.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
too.
That now the bread and the whiskey are standalone products.
I actually think that they're working together.
But they're well,
yeah.
you can get the flavors out of the whiskey. You can get the flavors out of the bread, whereas the sweet bread made the whiskey softer, made it almost dissipate in your
Yes.
This-
Yes. The texture feels different here. With
Yeah.
the savory, it pops a lot more. with the sweet, it really did seem to almost coat the palate and meld with the richness of the bread.
To me, I get a lot more bready elements in this whiskey when I go back to the savory.
Okay.
So I get a lot more wheat.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of wheat flour in this because it's an Italian herb bread done in a wheat bread making style. So I think that there is a lot more of a bready element in this. And then I think that the chocolate chip brioche bread helps elevate the sweet notes. So it's very, very interesting. Anyways, we have more whiskey to pair these two lovely loaves with. So what is our next whiskey?
Well, this one, frankly, it's going to be hard for anybody to find, but like we did with our last pairing, we did a Midwinter Night's Dram with our last pairing. This time we're going to do a Maker's Mark WftA02.
This was a limited release back in 2021. I believe it was available in multiple states. When we got our hands on this one originally back in 2021, it definitely took a foothold in my heart anyway. Like, I love private releases from Maker's Mark to begin with. I'm actually wearing my Maker's Mark shirt right now in celebration of this moment. This is a really, really great offering. We wanted to bring it out for this, not to necessarily make it a call to action to find this product, because frankly, you're not going to find this product.
And if you do, well,
good on ya.
Yeah, good on you, and get it, absolutely.
So, to talk though a little bit about the vital stats, what we're looking at, in case you want to try to find something comparable, or just a wheated bourbon in general to come in, I imagine we like the private selects. Find any private select, here we go. So this is a straight bourbon finished with oak staves, comes from Loretto, Kentucky. This is a Maker's Mark product, obviously. Mash bill, we have 70% corn, 16% wheat, and then 14% malt barley. So not too heavy on the wheated side of things.
But that's typical of Maker's Mark.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. This is a classic mash bill for them. We have an unpublished barrel char, classic barrel entry proof for Maker's Mark as well, coming in at 110. We don't know the age statement. We do know that it's non-chill filtered. ABV, this is a bit higher than that dry fly we just had. It's coming in at about 55% ABV, so getting close to that 110 proof, which is very close to that barrel entry proof. They like to keep it even there. MSRP for this was around $60, fair price $70 to $80. If you can find this one today, you'll probably be expecting to pay $160 to $200. Not bad, considering that this was a limited release about 4 years ago now. We paid $70 for this. This is not a new addition to our bunker. We did do a review of our bunker very recently to figure out what little unicorns we had tucked away, and we found this guy and thought, oh, we must find a reason to open the bottle. Ta-da! Here we are now. So this is, I'm really excited to have this one again, because this is one of my all-time favorite private selects coming from Maker's Mark. And I'm so excited already to know how it's going to go with the sweet in particular, because I remember this one being a cherry bomb. I'm so ready.
Interesting.
But I'm assuming, Alora, you want us to start with the savory again like we did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And this time I did my particular process a little bit different. I started out with trying the Maker's Mark first, and it has been a while. I don't even know if I have had this particular whiskey before. If I have, I'm so sorry about forgetting you. You are amazing, and I love you. But in regards to the whole cherry bomb thing, Hannah, I don't know if I'm getting a whole lot of cherries. I'm getting a lot of cinnamon and a lot of warmer spices. Maybe I need to have another sip of it.
This bourbon
Oh, I get cherries.
at 54.55% ABV is not hot.
No.
No,
But what it does,
really nice.
it elevates the heat in the bread.
Okay,
It
I'll
really
have a
does.
bite of the bread
I can't
now.
believe
Yes.
how much better this bread has become
Yeah.
because of the heat.
To me, I get a lot more spices from
Way
the
more
bread.
spices. Way more herbs.
Versus the dry fly, which seemed to more combine its efforts with the Italian bread. But this one, it's just like, let me bring you up. Let me raise you up. This, I'm getting a whole lot more
These two
Italian
work better
seasonings, a
They
lot
do.
more salt.
They really do. And it's nice to have this not succumb to the spice of the bread. This one actually is standing up on its own 2 feet. That's likely coming from the proof.
The extra proof. Yep.
That it can hold a candle to the spices coming forward. Everything is actually elevating the way that I think it should. It makes both the bread and the whiskey itself very exciting. The WftA02, the Maker's Mark, I still get the sweetness from the Maker's even when I'm having the bread, but it's like they're actually toying with each other, I almost want to say.
Yeah.
It's playful.
They're pairing well.
They're bouncing ideas off of each other, and you just get to sit privy to the whole conversation, which is not a bad place to be.
Salt and sweet have always gone together. And perhaps we've explained this part before. When we went up to Wisconsin, oftentimes we will pair cheese with whiskey, with bourbon in particular. We find that brininess in the cheese just gets elevated. So that's kind of like why we're doing this as well, is to see just how much do these pairings really bring out the best in one another. I'm really, really satisfied with the Italian herb bread and this whiskey. Let's move on to what Hannah wants and get into the sweet bread.
Okay.
I have to say that I actually prefer the crustiness with this Maker's Mark almost better than the bread itself. Because there's spices in the crust that are enhanced because of the baking process. What do you call the crust? I mean, it's a crust. But the outside is roasted, if you will. The herbs are roasted.
It really is. I mean, what I did to elevate this crust was I made an egg wash. Basically just used a cooking brush over it. Some people will use butter, other people will use oil, and then some people will just dump it into the oven unfinished. And I've tried all three. I'm not sure which one is my favorite because it really depends on the kind of bread that you have. Because this Italian bread has so many spices in it, I don't really want to dissuade the flavor of it too much. So I wouldn't use like an oil coating. I would use either egg or butter or just nothing at all and dump it in. It affects the crust look of it. Egg wash makes it a little bit more shiny. Butter makes it a little bit more crusty. I don't really personally think the butter really adds a whole lot more extra flavor, but you guys can be the judge of that. Anyways, this chocolate chip brioche bread and this bourbon, what are we thinking?
Cherries. The cherries come out so much when I take a sip of this.
The bread is enhancing
Yes.
the fruit.
Yeah.
Way more than I ever expected it would do that.
I kind of figured, I don't know why, but in my heart I knew this would happen. And I'm so happy to be proven right.
But it's also elevating the spice elements of the whiskey.
Yes, of the whiskey. I don't know of the bread as
The
much.
bread doesn't have any spice.
Well, the dry fly really made the cinnamon in the bread pop. I don't think that's happening now with the Makers.
No, but I'm getting more of a, I don't want to say cinnamon, more of an allspice, a really blended spice. But I'm also getting more pepper. More pepper out of the bread. And I know there's no pepper in this bread. It's sweet.
Have you guys had the crust with this?
Yes. It's hard not to have crust here.
Well, I mean, I've been having a lot of dough with this, which
This is
is
kind
why
of
I'm asking.
a tear and share style,
Yeah, almost like a cinnamon roll type situation.
but with chocolate chips instead of just straight up cinnamon. And no frosting other than
The glaze.
the glaze that's on it. Wow, this is really, really, really good. Can I say really good?
It is, oh my goodness. Yeah.
Well, give your thoughts, Alora.
Well, I just had a little bit of crust. Like I say, I was having a little bit of the dough in here. The dough has some chocolate chips. But the crust, what I used for the glaze was cinnamon, maple syrup, powdered sugar, a little bit of coffee, and milk. I really wanted to make sure that there was some sort of other flavors that I could use with this, because Hannah and Dad yesterday were thinking, well, which one of our whiskeys would go well with just chocolate? And it got me thinking, well, maybe I don't have to do just chocolate. Maybe I can make a different glaze with other spices. And oh man, I'm so happy I did, and I'm so happy I'm pairing it with this, because this, I would agree with Dad, makes all the spices from the crust of this bread seem more like allspice rather than just cinnamon.
It's a blend.
It's a blend.
Blend of
And
spices.
I'm just so happy with its elevation. I think that the two are going so well together. Now, which one? Because we were thinking, I think we're a little bit biased in thinking like, oh, well, this will go really, really well with the chocolate chip, but we really, really like this pairing with the savory. So which one are we preferring out of the two? Which pairing?
That's a great question. Oh, that's a really good question. Honestly, I
Do you
think.
need to have another bite of the savory?
Well, I've been going kind of back and forth throughout the whole interlude here. I think ultimately I'd have to come down with the straight wheat whiskey, our dry fly, 100% wheat. I honestly love that most with the sweetbread. And I actually love it more with the sweetbread than I love the makers with the sweetbread, which is very interesting because a minute ago I was so excited for this moment. And it's not that the makers tastes bad with the sweetbread at all, quite the contrary. I just really, really love how the dry fly almost pokes at the sweetbread. And it's exciting, it's different. They sit far enough away from each other on a classic flavor profile that they have more to offer each other to build a more full puzzle, for lack of a better word.
I'm going to say balance.
Yeah, more balance, exactly.
The straight wheat whiskey is balanced with the sweet bread way better than the Maker's Mark.
Yeah,
But the Maker's
on the
Mark
other
is
hand,
not bad with this.
No, not at all. But on the other hand, the Maker's Mark pairs so perfect with the savory. And I think it's because of the proof of the Maker's Mark being
It very
at
well
one.
could be. I just had some more of the savory bread. It works so well
Yeah,
with the Makers.
I think the proof coming in at around that 110, they can actually sit with each other and have a conversation. And it's like what I was saying earlier. You're just sitting in the middle privy to it all. And I love that. So I think I'd have to go dry fly sweet, Maker's savory. What about you guys?
I'm right there. I am right there. In fact, I know there's no chocolate in this savory. I have to keep cleansing my palate to get the chocolate to go away. But what cleanses the palate is the dry fly.
Mm-hmm.
Of all things, a whiskey is cleansing my palate of chocolate.
I would agree. I just think that these are really, really great pairings. But I'm going to throw in a wrinkle in the plan, guys, if there was a plan. try a little bit of the chocolate bread now and go to the dry fly. But first, cleanse your palates with the water.
I just took a bite of the sweet bread, so I'm going straight in with the dry fly now. Okay.
Because I got something very, very interesting.
Cream soda.
Yeah.
Cream soda. I just got cream soda. That's weird.
I got peanut butter.
No, not peanut butter. I got cream soda. And I love the little, there's almost like an effervescence that comes with the dry fly that makes that cream soda essence carbonated and exciting and bubbly. Cream soda.
So just to be sure I'm doing the right thing. Sweet bread, dry fly.
Yes.
All right, here I go. It just knocks down that chocolate. I'm not getting cream soda, but I'm getting that effervescent, that pop you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
it's quite lovely.
like stale Pop Rocks.
But that's not a bad thing. Like
No,
that's
no,
not
no.
to be said as a criticism. What about you, Alora? So what was your end game there?
So the reason why I had you guys do that was because that was one of our first pairing things that we did.
Mhm.
So I wanted us to cycle back before we decided which one was the best pairing.
I'm still sticking with my original statement.
I agree. I don't know that I've ever drank the whiskey so fast with pairing of anything. These are working well together. When I have the savory bread, I want the makers.
Yeah.
I want the makers. When I have the sweet bread, I want to dissolve the chocolate
With
in
the dry fly.
And that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
Dissolve that chocolate.
Yeah. What about you, Alora? You actually haven't given a verdict one way or another yet.
Well, I'm honestly in a huge agreement with you guys. You know, I'm just happy with these pairings. I think that if I were to rank, pretty much all four, if we did all four combinations, I would say that the dry fly and the savory bread are probably my least favorite. But that's not to say that they're bad at all. I quite like it, honestly. I'd be happy to have this combination any day of the week. And then I'd probably say, this is hard. But
Well, what you're doing is very interesting. Dad and I haven't done that.
yeah, I'm kind of taking a step ahead. I really, really like the makers with the savory. It's just, it's a salt-sweet combination, you know? So I'd probably say that's my favorite. And as far as the middle goes, probably the dry fly and the chocolate is my third favorite. And then the makers and the chocolate chip is my second. So, I know I went out of order. I'll go over it again. My favorite is the Maker's Mark and the savory. Second favorite is the chocolate chip and the Maker's Mark. Third is the dry fly and the chocolate chip. And then the last one is the dry fly and the savory. What about you guys? I know I put you on a spot there. Take your time.
I'm gonna go dry fly and chocolate bread
As your number one.
as my number one. I'm gonna go makers and savory number 2. Makers and chocolate number 3. And I've already lost with
And the
number
dry
4.
fly and sweet
And dry fly and sweet
is the number 4.
is the number 4. But now that I said that, I don't think that's right.
See, for me, that's exactly what it is. I mean, I've been sitting here and,
But I really want the chocolate to be dissolved.
like,
The problem is that the dough is so rich.
yeah.
It is.
And unlike this savory is very, very fluffy. This chocolate chip dough is very thick.
It's dense. It's
yeah.
dense.
I think I'd have to
Have another piece of bread?
probably. The thing is that the combination that I've been having the most while we've been talking has been the dry fly with the sweet. So part of me is inclined to say that that's my number one. However, despite that being the combo I keep coming back to, in the back of my head I'm like, once I do this though, then I'm gonna get to have the makers and the savory. So I think the makers and the savory with the Italian herb, I think that's probably my number one, but this dry fly and sweet combination comes in very close at a number two. And then the makers and the sweet, probably number three, and then the dry fly and the savory coming in at number four.
Dry fly and savory is my least favorite. It is my least favorite.
And it's not that it's bad, it's just that the savory, the heat of the bread it overpowers the whiskey in that combination. The whiskey has no chance really of standing on its own 2 feet with the savory.
But it's not bad.
But it's not bad.
No.
But what I'm really wondering is with that, and we all have kind of a mix of what our 1, 2, 3 is there, but we all agree on number 4.
Mm-hmm.
So the question I think then really becomes wheat with savory. Well, no, wheat with savory. What's the thought there? Is it a workable combination, or are we just not doing this correctly?
Well, it all, I think, comes into the process of getting it in. My wheat bread, I make a cracked wheat bread. Perhaps we'll see it later in this season.
Wow, that's a spoiler.
I know. Delete it or not. But perhaps with that bread process, because I make it with honey. All of my breads, besides this brioche bread, because I was very meticulous in following the instructions, unlike all my other breads where I don't follow instructions, I make the yeast mixture with honey. And I find that to be personal preference more than functionality, because I've used the table sugar method with the yeast mixture, and it works, most certainly, but there's just something different about using honey, and I can't really put my finger on it. I think the yeast reacts a bit more positively to the honey.
It likes the honey.
Yeah, and I think it might just be like
It
a
makes it
processed
grow.
sort
So
of
are
thing.
you saying, though, that sweet can have a relationship with a wheated product?
I
or
think
are
it
you
can.
saying that
I know I went off on a tangent.
I
and
know,
I'm sorry, guys.
I'm trying to make
No, you're all good. So the reason why I went with that sort of tangent line is because, yeah, I think wheat lends itself quite well to sweet. And I think it lends itself quite well to savory because it's kind of a neutral bread flavor. Like you go to the store and you either get white bread or you get wheat bread. You don't get like the obscene breads unless you're having it for a certain occasion, in my opinion. That's how our family kind of functions. So with the wheated, I think it lends itself both well to savory and sweet. I just make it more sweet.
Do you have a weigh-in?
I'm trying to remember what I said were my order again. And I'm going to stick with this order. Definitely my least favorite is the savory and the dry fly. Savory and wheat, straight wheat. I think my favorite, and I'm going back and forth, my favorite is the sweet and the dry fly. And my second favorite is going to be the Maker's Mark with the savory.
Mm-hmm.
So the Maker's Mark with the sweet, my third.
So
Yeah.
do you think, though, that it's this is such a complicated question. I struggle to even figure out how to word it. But do you think it's because of the proof that you're drawn with the Maker's savory combination, or do you think that wheat has a part to play in why you love that Maker's savory
Interesting.
combo.
That is a good question.
I think it's a combination of both of those things. The wheat in the Makers is only at 16%.
That's a
It's
really good point.
Mostly corn.
Yes.
Corn is by nature sweet.
Yes.
So with it stood against the sweet bread, it's almost too sweet.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah,
And-
I'm getting a
in
lot of
which-
maraschino cherries now that you mentioned.
In which
it.
case, the heat is the only thing keeping it from being too sweet,
Over the top, yeah.
over the top sweet.
Proof definitely has a factor in it, though, because with higher proof, we generally, well, I use the word generally loosely because it really depends on the specific type of whiskey that you're drinking. Typically, with higher proof, you might get more flavors out of the whiskey rather than a lower proof. Typically.
Yeah,
But it's
complexity
not-
does come
Yeah.
into play.
in.
But proof does not always mean that. I mean, I've had Elijah Craig's, and they've been at like that 128 or like, I don't even know,
Yep.
like really high proof. And I'm just getting the alcohol. I'm just getting the ethanol, and I'm just not fond of that at all. So I think there's a fine balance. Where this Maker's Mark sits at 110 is my happy spot. I like that. I like that 110, around like 105, 110 proof. These two really like high proof.
Yeah.
So I think, in conclusion, just experiment and see what your preferences are.
I kind of think that while yes, it's a combination going on with proof and wheat with sweet, I think the dominating component is proof. I have such a desire right now to run outside and grab a Booker's. Like, I want to have, and that's not the topic because Booker's is ride. We can't do that. But I so desperately want to run outside and grab a Booker's, grab an Elijah. Maybe I could go grab a Larceny barrel proof. That's weeded. Maybe I could go grab one of those and have it with this sweetbread. I want to know what that does. I want to know what that... I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Everybody, talk amongst yourselves. I am going to do that.
Oh my goodness.
We're doing a spur of the moment, never before seen event.
Hannah has to sprint in order to
I
get
have
her
to,
whiskey.
I have
Wow.
to know. I have a question and I must know. It's like, I must know. One moment, everyone.
Well, I gotta say, Laura, I really like what you've done here.
Cool.
I really like what you've done here. This has been an interesting experiment. I've got 2 little pieces of savory bread left. I've got both whiskeys left. Somehow I've ended up with just 1 piece of sweet bread left. I just had the sweet bread and the dry fly. I like that combination. I really, really like that combination. But I still have some in my mouth, that flavor in my mouth from the bread.
Yeah.
So I'm going for the Makers just to tie it up.
Just
Laura?
tie it up, yeah. I mean, this is just a whole testament to just pairing with whiskey, you know? Like, whiskey is one of those drinks that I'm not particularly fond of mixing with really anything except food. Like, I don't really like it in cocktails at all because I think it's just too strong. But with food, with bread in particular, since they're both working with that grain element, I think that they can marry quite nicely. And if you guys are ever curious about your own sort of food combinations, you don't have to do this whole process with making your own bread. You can just go to a bakery or to a store and get some and see what this does for you. Or even a different option is you could try it with some jam, blueberry jam. I remember one of my first experiences with food and whiskey pairings was Dad gave me some blueberry jam to go with a whiskey. I don't even remember what it was. Oh my goodness, Hannah is very excited.
I'm back, everyone. I'm back. This is, I just opened up a bottle.
Oh goodness, she's gonna have to update our inventory.
I am, and I've done this basically under the cover of podcast, because I'm not sure this was technically allowed, but it's happened and I've done it.
This podcast is just an experiment, you're fine.
We don't have all the vital stats put together on this, but this is the Larceny Barrel Proof C923. This is the oldest one that we have in our bunker. This came out in September of 2023. This is a Heaven Hill product. Okay, so let me go check really quick. Silly me, I didn't look at what the proof is on it. Because
it's pretty high, isn't it? Like
yes.
120?
It goes into the barrel at 125. It's a barrel char 3. Of all of the weeders that happen, Heaven Hill does theirs all at 125. So that's going to lend itself to a spicy hit.
Right.
What's our proof?
The proof on this one is 126.4. So not too far off from what that barrel entry proof is going to be. I'm really interested to see what proof of weight does to both. I've got a little bit of my savory and my sweet bread
we all
left.
do.
So
all right, so if we're gonna do this,
we're
Hannah,
doing this.
We're gonna do it properly.
Okay.
So first we need to do the savory, just like what we did in the previous two.
Let me clear my palate again.
Yes, clear the palate. Dad's already jumped in. That's fine.
savory bread.
Savory bread.
Larceny Barrel Proof.
Larceny Barrel Proof.
I have to say the proof hits, but it's not hitting hard. And I think it's because of the spice in the bread is standing up and say, hey, I got spice too. I got some heat here too.
I 100% agree with that.
They are blending well.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I think they're blending in the way that the dry fly and the sweet blended. If that makes sense. Like they're
Yes,
they're not combating each other at all. This is a simple marriage.
Yet the finish, the bread's gone.
Yes.
All I'm feeling now is a nice warming of the throat, the back of the palate, and that's from the Larceny. I really like this bourbon.
I really like it too, but
we've never opened this one.
No.
This is a fresh open, freshly cracked bottle here.
Shame on us.
We did it.
We'll have to update our inventory for sure. But you see, guys, I think that the whiskey kind of overpowers the Italian herb bread. I don't know, but you know,
It's the
I
proof.
had a little bit of the crust with it, and the crust that I had in particular with the savory bread was, it did have a little bit of that red chili flake sort of element in it, but I thought it would be a very strong bread, and it was standing up like a contender in like a contest or something, and this Larceny Barrel Proof just came in and basically kicked its ass. But it was good. I really, really like this. I think proof does have a huge thing to do with it. But I'm not going to say that this is, you know, it is a very, very high proof, but it doesn't drink like it wants to kill you, unlike some Elijah Craig's that I've had, where they've wanted to kill me. This one is like, let's just have some fun. Hannah, what do you think?
I've done it both now with the sweet and the savory bread. This is a really, really interesting experiment that very spur of the moment for sure. Honestly, if we've now expanded our combinations up to 6, I would still keep my number 1 and my number 2 the same. With the makers and the savory being my number 1, dry fly and sweet being the number 2. And I'd still keep probably the Maker's. This is so difficult. I think I want to sandwich the Larceny right in between at 3 and 4. And I'd probably put the Larceny and the Savory, I think, at number 3. And Larceny and the Sweet at number 4.
On the savory
It's
bread,
hard.
I do not have any crust left. All I have is just the bready portion. When I put it in my mouth after having the Larceny, the bread melts.
Yeah.
It just melts.
Yeah.
It's gone. But the heat comes in at the back end. When I take a sip of the Larceny, it elevates the heat of the bread, and I don't want to say brings down the heat of the Larceny, but in no way is that drinking like 120.
No.
126-ish.
This is
No
drinking
way
like
it's
a
126.
comfortable 105, maybe 100.
It's more than 105.
It drinks like it's comfortable at 105.
I mean,
This is so interesting.
Yeah. I honestly,
I think
you know,
your proof argument goes away.
I think it does too. I'm really glad that I did this because it would have been a lingering question in the back of my mind. If proof is what was making the Makers and the Savory combination work so well, and the lower proof wheat with the dry fly work so well with the sweet, the Larceny by it's delicious. Okay, it is delicious. It works with both of these breads really well, but it's not a proof conversation.
no,
It's a
more of
wheat
a,
It's
conversation.
a wheat conversation.
I think it is. And perhaps, you know, maybe we need to explore this new topic of, does proof really have much of a factor in terms of bread? Perhaps, or like a different food pairing. Perhaps, what if we were to do just
Cheese.
low? Cheese is a good one. That could be the next food pairing. We don't know. But we could do like a low proof, middle proof, and a high proof, just to see what we come up with, because I think we might spark a different conclusion with this particular experiment compared to the one that we just now did.
I'll say this. Our family snacks when we drink
It's true.
whiskey.
We love our Cheez-Its and we love
Okay.
our chips.
Cheez-Its,
Popcorn.
Popcorn.
kettle,
Guys, have popcorn with bourbon.
kettle,
It'll change your life.
kettle potato chips, kettle cooked potato chips,
They like it more than I do.
s'mores. S'mores have the chocolate element, and I never really put the two together. But s'mores work well. I can't even imagine having s'mores with this combination of food.
I think that'd be too much.
S'mores?
I don't
I'm
know
not
if
going to
I
go
really-
quickly make some s'mores, okay?
No, I did all the baking for you guys.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
We
We
what do they
eat
say?
well.
Boom, mind blown.
Mind blown.
Yeah. This is a very interesting, and you know that food pairing and whiskey combination experiment never really has an ending point. You can really do this with any sort of food. You
Yeah.
have it with your dinner, have it with your breakfast. Well, I don't know about breakfast. It depends on the time of day. But drink responsibly, people. The thing is, I think that whiskey can pair itself with pretty much any food. You just kind of have to be open-minded and explore all the different kinds of possibilities, because we came up with very, very different possibilities and conclusions, and we only had 2 breads and I guess now 3 whiskeys, thanks to Hannah.
You're welcome.
But I think it was a good idea to
Yeah.
check if it's the proof that's making a difference.
Right.
Yes.
It's not
and
the proof.
Because when we were doing this last season with the rye is such a forward ingredient. And we talked last season about whether or not rye is considered spicy. And we kind of debunked that theory through all of the testing that we did. But rye on its own is a very forward ingredient. You know when it's there. And it wasn't really much of a factor when we were doing these tests with the bread of whether or not it was the proof or not. It just, this is what rye does, this is what rye is. Wheat's really different. And I think this season's going to be incredibly fascinating because wheat arguably is a very flexible ingredient. It can do a lot of different things and play in a lot of different rings. And I'm really excited to see what this does. I'm glad I went out and grabbed the larceny to give it the ultimate test of whether or not it's proof, and it's not.
At least with this one.
At
Perhaps
least
in
with
the
this
next
one.
season, we can do a different food
Yeah.
pairing and test out proof.
So we're doing proofs from 90 proof to 110 proof to 126 proof.
That's a good variety, good range.
And every one of these has a wheat component. I off the top of my head, I don't know what the larceny wheat component is, but this is really a nice test.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, Laura, that was amazing. Hannah, I like your addition. Let's move on to this fortnight in whiskey. Listeners, you probably remember last podcast we talked about RNDC, and several podcasts ago we talked about Provy and Southern Glaziers. Well, RNDC, Republic National Distributing Company, has finally settled their suit with Provy. Provy is a business-to-business alcohol marketplace. They sell online. They've gone through Southern Glazers to get their product. They've gone through RNDC. You might remember that both Southern Glazers and RNDC decided to circumnavigate Provy, and Provy said, no, this is not happening, and they took them to court. And guess what? Provy has come out ahead. They did not lose their business. So what's happened, back in March 2022, business-to-business alcohol marketplace provider Provy filed a lawsuit against the distributors. And Provy alleged that they had violated antitrust laws, claiming the companies had made efforts to maintain or enhance their respective monopoly power. So Provy asserted that some of those actions included blocking or rejecting orders for wine and spirits when retailers selected Provy instead of going to the distributors. Southern Glazers, the largest alcohol distributor in the U.S., and Provy settled their lawsuit back in April this year. We did a little news story on that. Now Provy and RNDC have reached a mutual satisfactory resolution as well. RNDC will join forces with the alcohol e-commerce platform to fulfill orders. That's really kind of cool.
Yeah.
They're actually stepping back from their own platform and going to help boost Provy's platform. Provy will complement RNDC's existing e-commerce platform, I guess which is known as eRNDC, by providing its clients greater access to the entire distributor's portfolio, whereas before they may have only had limited resources. RNDC's online platform is active in 22 states plus Washington, D.C. Provy recently renewed its e-commerce partnership with this distributor. They've also been working with Breakthrough Beverage Group in 16 states, and the e-commerce with its retailers is set the stage within the three-tiered system. They're working on direct-to-consumer sales. I think it's coming. Each little time we talk about this, I kind of am looking for these types of articles.
Yeah, we're inching towards a big thing.
Yes.
Definitely.
And as Hannah said last episode, 1933, the three-tiered system came into existence.
We're due for an update.
Yep. Now, the next story I've got is Buffalo Trace partners with Meridian Biotech.
Hey, is that near us?
Nope, this is a completely different company.
Okay.
Meridians are popular.
Yep.
This is not Meridian, Idaho.
Not necessarily like Springfield, but anyway.
Pretty close.
Pretty close. Meridian
Simpsons
Biotech.
could set up a branch here.
So what does a distillery do with their used stillage? The byproducts left behind after the fermentation and distillation is done. Well, stillage is mostly water and residual solids and trace nutrients. Stuff like grain husks, proteins, fiber.
Right.
So with Buffalo Trace's recent $1.2 billion production expansion, they now have way more stillage than they can get out to the farmers. Conventional stillage was disposed of at farms. Basically, they were just giving it to farms or selling it to farms as an additional food protein source for the animals.
It'd be great, compost sort of material,
Yep.
for sure.
But they're also feeding it to the animals as well. So Meridian was one of 5 companies to present at a distiller's grain competition way back in October 2021. The participants were challenged to find new and creative ideas to tackle the whiskey industry's spent grain byproduct. They're reimagining the distillery's stillage as a resource rather than a byproduct. It has the potential to transform the spirits industry. Meridian Biotech is building a new $40 million facility in Franklin County, which
Kentucky,
is
right?
Right,
Yeah.
Franklin County in Kentucky, which is near Buffalo Trace. The partnership is pretty cool because they're actually pumping the stillage directly to this new facility. So they're not even going to put it in trucks. They're just going to pump it straight over. Right now,
Okay.
Buffalo Trace is the only company that's going to be working with these guys. I think that's a really cool thing. The spent stillage is going to be converted into alternate proteins and used in a variety of industries, including aquaculture, fish farming, pet foods, and organic fertilizer.
Interesting.
Okay.
But for sure it'll have a huge effect on the economy in some way.
Exactly. Meridian is the first biotech company located in Franklin County. Construction on the new facility is expected to begin later this year. And as I said, Buffalo Trace is the only distillery currently working with Meridian. Their new facility and the Buffalo Trace partnership will create about 35 new local jobs. I think that's pretty cool.
That is pretty interesting, for sure.
Yeah.
And it'll be even more interesting to know if any other distilleries hop on board.
I gotta
this
believe
idea.
if you're building a $40 million business or
Yeah.
$40 million building, you're probably planning for the future.
You gotta figure out something to do with all of this stillage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might
Yes.
as well make it a productive use.
So,
Especially when we're trying to make things a lot more local.
Yeah.
In this recent economy especially, so.
so I'm going to add to this story. This is not part of the story, but I'm going to add to the story. Last summer, I had the opportunity to go to 45th Parallel Distillery
Up in Wisconsin.
up in Wisconsin, and they've been doing this very thing for quite a number of years. Not only are they doing their own stillage, but they're combining it with waste food or leftover food, and they're composting the whole thing, and they're turning all of this stuff into feed and resources, much like Meridian's already doing.
I think that's really awesome.
It is so cool to see businesses looking out past what they're doing.
Yeah, they have to. Otherwise,
something
you know,
else.
if you're going to be an entrepreneur or really just in business, you have to look at the future in
Well,
order to keep it going.
This almost isn't even looking at the future, though. It's looking at a business's own waste material and trying to figure out a use for it, which is really innovative, thoughtful, and very forward-thinking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My next story, Canada's boycott of U.S. liquor hits domestic alcohol sales. Canada's boycott of American spirits isn't just dragging down the sales of U.S. brands, it's squeezing all alcohol spending in Canada. Sales of U.S. spirits in Canada have fallen 66%.
I wonder why.
And it's obviously during the tariffs. So Ontario, the country's biggest market, has seen American spirits plunge 80%. The total of all spirits sold in Canada have fallen nearly 13% between March 5th and the end of April. That's a pretty big jump for a very, very short time. The overall spirits category has declined year over year as of April, contracting 3.5%, or $13.8 million Canadian. Removal of U.S. products from Canadian shelves has been problematic for all spirits producers. Canadian spirits have dropped 6.3%, and imported spirits have fallen 8.2%. Now, it's not just U.S. spirits, imported across the board from Europe
Scotland,
or wherever.
Taiwan,
Exactly.
Japan, Mexico.
Spirits Canada and the Distilled Spirits Council of the U.S. are urging their respective governments to come to some type of new trade agreement.
Good luck with that.
Well, it's not really atypical for a lot of the different industries that are saying, now wait, we don't want to be the ones to suffer this or that.
But the thing is like, good luck with, negotiating leaders,
Yeah. Beyond the government-issued alcohol bans, many consumers are voluntarily boycotting other U.S. products. More than 60% of Canadian households are spending less on U.S.-made goods, not just alcohol. The magnitude of impact is much larger than expected. At a time when consumers are already cutting back due to the economy and everything else, alcohol boycotting is impacting sales growth on all consumer goods.
What do they call that? F around and find out? I don't know. That sounds like what that is to me.
Not saying anything, we're just saying.
As an American, that's what that sounds like to me.
So my fourth story, my last news story here tonight is master distiller selling Pappy online. Buffalo Trace sues to stop fraudulent sales. So what do you do when somebody is posing as your master distiller and is selling fakes of your rare bourbon online?
Is it the real Pappy that they're selling, or is it, an equally...
I gotta believe it's fake. I gotta believe it's fake.
A deep fake selling a deep fake?
It's some kind of weird second market thing going on.
And then, what do you do if you don't even know who it is? Pretty wild.
Ask Chat GPT, I guess.
Yeah.
Whoa! Hannah said, "Ask Chat." Okay, let's mark this day down in history.
Yep.
Hannah said that we should ask Chat.
Okay.
My goodness.
I don't know what else to do.
Yep. Sazerac has filed lawsuit to stop a scammer, claiming to be the distillery's master distiller. The lawsuit, filed in U.S. District Court in Louisville back on July 16th, was filed against John Doe's and seeks to stop the deliberate efforts to deceive the general public by falsely claiming to be one of Sazerac's most well-known and venerated employees, Master Distiller Harlan Wheatley. So this person or persons has created an account called, I guess, Master Distiller Harlan Wheatley, and is trying to sell fake Pappy, fake
I'm
Blanton's,
so tired of scammers. I have to filter through hundreds of emails all the time just to
The suit alleges the defendants falsely offer public access to unique Sazerac products and experiences, including the opportunity to purchase exclusive high-end bourbons.
Where are they doing this though? Like
It's been online. It's been on.
So it's not through. Obviously, it's not through the official channels of Sazerac or Buffalo Trace
Absolutely not.
specifically.
It's like an alcohol eBay. They're doing it through an alcohol black market eBay.
That's nefarious.
Yes.
Well, it happens.
Sazerac sent multiple cease and desist letters to the accounts. The fake Wheatley stopped using photos of the real Wheatley,
Well,
but
no
swapped
duh.
them with photos of a Louisville attorney and bourbon writer Brian Hara.
Oh, God.
Hara has no affiliation with the accounts. According to the filing, the defendant has obtained and is selling counterfeit, stolen, and or otherwise unauthorized bourbon whiskey bearing Sazerac's trademarks.
So
That poor unfortunate soul.
So this is a huge scam.
It is a huge
Yeah.
scam.
So, biggest takeaway here, listeners, is when you're buying any product, make sure that it's actually coming from the source that you believe that it is. And if you're buying online in particular, just be buying from the most direct source that you can, whether it's Pro-V or RNDC or whoever. Like you
Your
gotta
favorite
be-
liquor store.
You gotta be careful.
Perhaps I'm old-fashioned, and I don't typically. I don't know. I've started shopping more online in recent years, but perhaps I'm old-fashioned because I like to visibly see the product before I'm buying it. So I've honestly not. I knew it was going on where people were selling online, alcohol, but
Just be careful.
just be careful, trust your sources, look up those sources, and honestly, it's fine to go into a liquor store.
Yep.
Seriously.
Included in the lawsuit is a screenshot of the account, which offers an array of bottles saying, Pappy 10, 12, 15, 20, and 23-year-old, drop yes if interested. According to the distillery.
That doesn't sound scammy at all.
According to the distillery, other Buffalo Trace brands have been targeted, including Blanton's and Eagle Rare. The fake online accounts include those under the names at Harlan Davis Wheatley and at Buffalo Trace Distillery. After Sazerac attempted to stop the fake accounts, the fake Wheatley blocked them. And according to Sazerac, they're seeking to stop the fake Wheatley from selling fake Pappy. I know we're laughing here, but this is serious.
It is serious.
It is.
They have asked the court to take.
Scheme.
They've asked the court to order the defendant to permanently take down the accounts and assess punitive damages. Now, I have to say, I looked for the accounts. I just wanted to see what they were for this news story. I couldn't find them. So my guess is maybe they've been taken down. This isn't the first time Buffalo Trace has had a problem with sales of fakes online. Back in 2021, the distillery issued a warning to bourbon fans, telling them not to buy whiskeys online because it was just too risky.
Or risky whiskey.
Honestly, guys, just go to your liquor store. I haven't had the most positive experiences. Hannah hasn't had the most positive experiences with going into liquor stores. But seriously, that's the surest way you're going to get the product that you ask for.
Well,
But it is.
You have to think about it almost in historical terms. The Bottled and Bond Act was created because there were fake or there were manipulated whiskeys
True.
that were on the market that had additives that were frankly unhealthy for consumption, whether it was like shoe polish or another person's spit or tobacco in there. Just things that are not good that you don't need to be consuming yourself.
I would not have lived well in the 1800s.
When
Let's just
you
say that.
purchase something from an unverified seller, you're opening yourself up to ingredients that are less than savory, potentially illegal and definitely on the verge of being damaging to your own person. So just be a conscientious shopper, whether you are an online shopper or whether you're an in-person shopper. Just be making sure, and this really goes beyond the boundaries of whiskey.
Or
really,
just alcohol in general.
Really, any product that you buy, be a conscientious shopper. Know where stuff is coming from, know how it's being made, know who sold it, know who's making it.
So I'm going to speak a little Latin here. You guys didn't
Oh,
even know I
boy.
knew Latin.
don't
Caveat emptor. Does anybody know what that means?
What? Repeat it.
Caveat emptor.
Hannah, you
Well-
took Latin. I'm hopeless in this
Well-
situation.
Let the buyer beware.
Yeah, let the buy, yeah.
That's what it is. It's something that I learned. I can't even tell you how long ago I learned that. Long before internet. So, it's time to make some space in your bunker.
We just opened 3 bottles. We're doing well.
We're doing
Yeah.
well. We got some new whiskey coming. A fan favorite returns, Old Forester 1910 Extra Old.
Woo-hoo.
Okay. Old Forester announced the annual release of its 1910 Extra Old, part of the 117 series. 1910 Extra Old debuted back in the spring of 2021, and as a result of an experiment of aging the 1910 Old Fine Whiskey. The double-barreled bourbon is aged for an extra 24 months
Wow, that's
in
a
a
long
heavily
time.
charred secondary barrel.
Could also say 2 years, but
Yep.
Yep.
24 months sounds longer.
It does.
2 years, guys.
Old Forester 1910 commemorates the October 22nd, 1910 bottling line fire at the 117 Main Street address. A batch of the barrel dumped whiskey had already been readied for bottling, and the bottling line caught on fire.
Oh boy.
So Old Forester decided, you know what, we got to do something with this stuff. Let's put it back in barrels. So they put it back in barrels, and the rest became history.
It's a good bottle.
Back in 2018, Old Forester added the 1910 Old Fine Whiskey to its Whiskey Row series. It was the 4th edition. There's the, 1870?
And the 1897 and the 1920.
This original stuff, or what they've been putting out there that you can find on the shelf every day, is getting a second barreling of about 7 to 9 months. They don't disclose, but that's been a history of what people believe it to be.
Actually, I think it's 1870
97.
and then 1897.
Yeah.
Correct. The 1870 is the original,
Yeah,
and the 1897 is the bottled and bond.
correct.
There you go. For Old Forester 1910 Extra Old, the extra time gives it a nose of sticky toffee pudding with toasted hazelnut, palate of almond and toasted oak, balancing with baking spice, a mouthfeel that's warm and buttery, and it's velvety smooth, and the finish is of milk chocolate, sweet oak, and a warm cinnamon spice.
We always say to take these things with a grain of salt, but man, I do wonder how this would compare with the chocolate chip brioche bread that I made.
There you go. That would be probably pretty good. That chocolate would pair.
I mean, just I'm a huge Old Forester fan.
Yeah.
And for those of you who have watched this series before, you guys know this. We love Old Forester.
Yes, we do. The Extra Old is bottled at 93 proof at great price of $65.
Pretty reasonable.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd be willing to spend on it.
My next bottle, Old Granddad, unveils a 7-year-old bottled in bond bourbon. James B. Distilling Company, everybody knows Jim Beam, released its annual Old Granddad 7-year-old. This year's expression is bottled in bond and barreled in the spring of 2018.
Is Old Granddad weeded?
No, it's a heavy rye. heavy rye.
Huh, I must be thinking of something else that starts with that old moniker.
As with its other expressions, the whiskey is made using a high rye recipe. As I just said, and Hannah questioned, the old...
Okay, fine, rub it in.
The old granddad was founded in 1882 by Raymond B. Hayden. It was named in honor of his grandfather, guess who? Basil Hayden. The James B. Beam Distilling Company acquired the label back in 1987. On the nose, it's said to be caramel and vanilla with a palate of charred oak. This bottle is going to be retailing for around $39.99.
Not bad.
Okay.
$40.
Okay.
And my last bottle, Jim Beam has brought back its Knob Creek Bourbon and Rye Blend. Now, we've not had this, but have you ever gone to your bunker and looked over your options and said, do I want rye? Do I want bourbon?
I have that conversation a lot. That's a very prevalent internal dialogue.
For
So
me,
now
I
you
just
don't-
go for proof, honestly.
Now you don't have to. How about a blend of both? Knob Creek has just announced the return of its Bourbon by Rye. So Bourbon X Rye is how it's labeled. Kentucky Straight Blended Whiskey. This was supposed to be a one-off. They released it a year ago, but now they have brought it back again, and they said, you know what, we have lots of people asking for this stuff, so we'll just keep rolling it. Knob Creek is a core member of the Jim Beam Small Batch Collection. Everybody knows Knob Creek. They've got their bourbon, their 9-year-old, and their rye. Both come out at 100 proof. And along with some single barrel expressions, limited editions, including ones aged 12, 15, 18 years old. The Bourbon by Rye does not have an age statement. But if it did, it would have to be 7 years old because rye is part of the component. That's the youngest of the pieces. It's 70% rye and 30% bourbon, and it's bottled at 113 proof.
Not bad.
I'm interested. Distiller tasting notes. On the nose, green apple and muddled orange. Palate of cherries, prunes, black pepper, and brown sugar caramel. And a balanced mouthfeel with notes of sweetness and spice. And some hot honey on the finish.
That just sounds Jim Beam-esque.
Yeah.
Very Jim Beam.
I mean, just put in some wood, some like oak in there, and then you got that.
Yep. Whiskey is said to be a great sipper, and it probably plays well in cocktails because of the rye element. Knob Creek Bourbon by Rye joins other bourbon rye blends. Of course, everybody's probably heard of High West Boo Rye, the last monarch from Redwood Empire. I've not heard of this one. Brookellen Distilling's 77 Bourbon and Rye. Cedar Ridge's Slipknot No. 9 Iowa whiskey. That's kind of a throwback, I think, to the band.
Yeah.
They put their name on it.
Yeah.
And from a few years ago, even Basil Hayden's had a 2x2, a blend of 2 bourbons and 2 ryes. This Knob Creek Bourbon by Rye is available now at an SRP of $45 at select retailers.
Well, if we manage to see it in any of our stores, I'd be willing to give it a shot. I like Knob Creek products. I like Jim Beam products. I like a bourbon. I like a rye.
To be honest, all three of these lookouts sound quite reasonable.
Yes.
If we can get our hands on them.
Yeah,
That's the real kicker. And one thing I'm learning is, I mean, if you're a business and if you're a distiller, you got to look towards what else is new. You got to constantly look for what's new in order to help your business. So, yeah.
So these are just a few of the latest releases, and I'm sure there's quite a few more. As always, to learn more about these and many more offerings, as well as other news stories, go to the Whiskey for the Ages episode archive page on our website, of course, whiskeyfortheages.com. There you're going to find links to all of our episodes, their corresponding news pages, and as well as citations for the reporting news stories.
So this has been a great episode. I've enjoyed this thoroughly. I love
We've
bread.
enjoyed the bread.
Yeah, I love bread.
Thank you, Alora.
I love
Thank
whiskey.
you.
This is going to be a great season. As we hinted earlier, wheat might be a running theme throughout the rest of this season.
We've certainly set the stage for it.
We really, really have. So there's going to be a couple of regular features that are coming up here later down the line. We, of course, will be continuing our distilling and whiskey spotlights. We've done that since season 1. We really enjoyed those episodes, one of them being hosted by yours truly, and we're going to be continuing that. More whiskey reviews to come, obviously. Going to be having another guest or two on. And like last season, I'm going to be doing another archaeology show.
That was really interesting.
I'm really excited about that. Last season, we talked about Glenlivet's distillery that started at the very, very beginning. And looking at the footprints of that back in Scotland was really fascinating. Dad's got some more whiskey history planned for this season, of course. And then we're obviously going to be including some tips and tricks that we've learned along the way with a couple of other whiskey pours that we're going to be having.
Absolutely. So please be sure to send us your comments and subscribe to the show if you're new. Please remember that subscribers do get updated notifications. Subscribing does help us move in Google rankings, so that just makes us easier to find for new people. And then it also just drives our future content. We really rely on your guys' input, and you guys have such amazing ideas, and we look forward to hearing them as well.
And so ends another episode. Please join us for our next little spoilers. More wheat to come. Is wheat soft?
And maybe more bread.
And maybe more bread, as these two clearly insist, as if they didn't have just 2 loaves of bread being made today. Anyways, as we always end on a ring of the Glencairn. So cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.